Hello everyone, welcome back. This is the video number 5. In this video, we will be talking about the client side part of the application, this area, website, and its communication with the web API using Angular. In this task, actually, overall, we will be talking about routing and web API communication. In the routing section, actually, we will see the typical way of Angular routing is via ng-route. And then actually we will be setting up in our framework this routing feature. Actually, the ideas we will learn from here, ng-route, we will be encapsulating it in our framework routing, because our framework routing can work with ng-route or UI route or any other route may come in the future. So definitely it should be flexible enough. And we will be also talking about now the same time we will see how the Angular controller plays a role in this Angular ecosystem. We will see a simple data binding on the client side via in-memory JSON data. Then we will use this data binding functionality to fetch this data from the web API via API service. We will see how to write a simple Angular service which will communicate to our web API using HTTP service and fetch the data from the web API, and then we will simply display this data. So our communication cycle, which actually is illustrated here, will be demonstrated in this video. Okay, and also I have made these changes in the system, so I will walk you through here. I actually linked Font Awesome, which we will be using later. And then I found this URL, and actually it contains all the major libraries for Angular. So I actually installed Angular JS I refer to here instead of the previous one. And I also refer this Angular route.js, which is actually a separate module. And this is the way we will do the routing to different section of the page. Okay, once we install this Angular route or refer this Angular route library, okay, what else I did here? And below here, actually, I have, okay, a couple of more references. We will talk about those in a moment. So Angular route, I set up the route via this way. Currently, if you go to our index.cs HTML page, let me make it a little bit. We have this one, our framework. So let me run this one as it is. So this is our page currently. This is coming from our framework. So let me disable this one for a minute, and we will enable it back actually once we have gone through with all this demo. In the next video, we will enable this. So let me delete it. So the framework is gone. Next thing, actually, what I did, I go to app.js and I set up this configuration. I included ng-route, which is actually available now to use when I added this Angular route JS library, this one. So this ng-route is now available. I injected to my application. I also injected dx. This is coming from the dev extreme. Similar to ng-route, dev extreme modules are starting with dx. And I have here added this was my previous GHS framework. This is still there, but I deleted the markup earlier. And I added another module, common.core. This is a JavaScript module which is here available if you came to a website, www.root. And if you came to this core, I have here module common.core.js. And this is just having no dependencies, a separate module. So this common.core is added here. And JS framework, we have seen this one previously. In app.config, actually this is via, if you Google it, this how to configure the route for Angular, you will see syntax like that. So I'm defining various route that when there is no route defined, just take me to the home.html page. And home.html page is just saying home page, nothing else. Okay. Otherwise, when I type explicitly home, then use this route. You can specify which template, which controller. So when I type customers, take me to this, use this route. And then when there is anything else, some dummy address, just take me to the root. So this is the way. And in app.run then, I set up a rootscope.api URI. This is the address of my web API. And here, if you can see this project, this is actually my web API. So this is the address up to here, API, and this is then the further controller. This is the root URI. I'm mentioning this one here in my client side variable and putting it on root scope so it's easier to access it anywhere in the application. And there are some logging functionality here for some root change success. This is not important now. So this I will be using later, but you know this is available now here. So, okay, let me go to the index page. So this routing now we have here set up, and I can then just put this div, and which is actually this ng view which you have set up here. So the, Angular will be loading our views, these HTML templates in this div. So that's how this whole routing is set up. So inside this div, all our views will be loading via ng route, how we set up currently. Later, we will be definitely using our framework here. So our routing will be handled by framework. We will not using this app.js. Actually, we will broadcasting event to our frame and from those clicks and reading those events in our framework and then using some other way to route it. So definitely we will see. But regardless of the way, you see how this is now set up. Okay, so if I see in the home section, customer section, I have here a couple of files available, and I will come to those shortly. This is the functionality our customer page contains. So we have customer controller, this one, we have a template URL customer.html here, we have a class data.js, and there is some text file which is not important. So, and let me now refresh the page. In our index page, we have enabled this div. So my framework should be gone now because I have deleted that file. So you see, when nothing was done, it redirected us to home page, and we are definitely seeing that view. So I currently don't have any navigation set up to route to click that buttons, and then it should take me to the explicit route. But I can simply type it here. So in my app.js, I define customers route, and customer controllers will be activated and along with the other thing. But let's see what we see there. So we saw customers page. Let's inspect this one. So our customer page was loaded inside this div, and currently we have here page title. This is the Angular markup, and it means that we are binding a variable to our controller, to our scope actually in a real sense. So here I am saying page title. So where this page title is defined, okay, of course it is here in customer controller. So I defined a controller, and I am injecting scope, root scope and API service here. What is API service? We will see this one later. Root scope is definitely we can inject this way. And here I am setting up page title customer page here, this variable on my scope. And how this is linked via this variable, this is now linked here, page title. So whatever value is here, I can simply change it, and due to the data binding, I will have that value available. Of course, sometime it browser keep the cache, so you have to manually clear the cache or use this some clear cache Chrome extension, I guess. Okay, so let's show our customers data. We have wired up our routing, and user can go to the page, and definitely this routing we are doing manually will came via some click of the navigation items. Okay, so I have here on the scope attached a customers array. This is JavaScript array, and I have here defined a function clear data. What inside that this is simple pure JavaScript. Resetting this array. So I'm just whatever was there, I'm just initializing it to blank array. Okay, let's go to customer HTML and change here some, insert here some markup. So here actually there is now the talk of data.js on my index page. If I scroll a little bit up, I have here a couple of references which I did not mention earlier. Okay, this data.js, this is actually available in app customers data.js folder. So customers, this is data.js, and here I have some inline data1 array. I'm calling it customers. So this variable, this is now on global scope, and I'm just populating some values. So I have some fields here. So this is a simple JSON object, JSON data. Okay, so I have referred this here. And then I have customers controller. So in customer.html controller, what I can do here, I can give it this, I can make this change. Let me take it from here and add this function. Copy. I define another function and I am initializing this array with this customers data. And what was customers data we saw earlier? This is some JSON objects. Okay, so now this data is available on this variable customers. And how can I display this data here? Now go to customer.html page and put some markup here as well. So I will add, let me add these two buttons, I think. So it will be easier. Okay, I have two divs with bootstrap classes. One is calling load data, one is calling clear data, and we saw what is our load data and what is our clear data. They are self-explanatory. And what else I can do here? I can just copy this one, and this is simple Angular functionality. So I have one ng repeat. I am repeating over on customers. Customers are defined on my scope, which are coming from some JSON file. And I'm just using this Angular binding, just like this page.title. I'm binding to the internal properties ID and company name. Straightforward thing. So data.js currently have ID and company name, so I'm displaying these two things. On load data, I'm performing this function. It is initializing it. Due to this binding, immediately when the button will press, this list will be loaded, and it's same thing here on clear. Let's see in action. Let's see if it works. Okay, so clear the cache, couple of clicks. Okay, so we got our two buttons. At this point, if I click load data and I get ID and name due to this ng repeat, iterating over the whole loop and printing these two properties. This is currently static data coming directly from our JSON file, but the principle is same and we can definitely going to change it. So clear data will clear it, load data load it, clear it, load. So this is happening currently inside our JS website application. Okay, so now we will do a couple of changes, and actually, why not, instead of reading this data from our JSON object, why not get it this list from our server? And in WebApi, if we see here, our controller, we have clients controller, and it is returning us a list of clients. And we saw this list of clients which set up in our startup via this method. We have 4 one, two, three, four clients, some data available already in our database, which actually, so we can call this controller method from our client side application, read this data, return it to our customer controller, bind this variable with that incoming data, and when we click, this should fetch the data from web API, some functionality, and display it in that way. So we have some code already available, some we can quickly change. For this purpose, to communicate via HTTP, because this is a AJAX communication, Angular provides us $HTTP service, just like this Angular services or objects. I have actually written one simple API service. This is custom service, and it is encapsulating that functionality. And this API service is actually in index page. I have here where I define common.core module. I have below that API service, and let's see what this service has. So if we ever go to our website and app, here we have services folder. I have here API service. Okay, this I am associating this API service to common.core module. So core functionality I will definitely associating with this module. I use simple factory construct. What is this factory construct? You can check the Angular official website, and I am just this returning this service, which has two functions, get and post. I will be definitely changing those later for put, patch, and delete. So get function is actually expecting a URL, and it has two success and failure callback functions. Internal plumbing is, I don't think at this point is important, but it is using HTTP at Angular service and getting the data, and there is some promises. So Angular promises are being used for success and error callbacks, and it has these two get and post method, how they function internally. This is actually, this code is almost identical to most of the posts already available online, where this task has been explained hundreds of times. So you can get, important thing is you should have some way to communicate with the web API endpoint, and HTTP is the key to access that. So if something is, if you are not sure about this, how this is doing, because it's simply explained many places already online, you can ask me, I will definitely explain it to you. By using this service, actually, I have encapsulated all the nitty-gritty details here of HTTP low-level communication call. And in my controller, actually, I am just injecting this API service. Now I can use this API service, and if you remember in app.js file, we have defined our root scope on API URI. So our endpoint actually is available, and we saw in the previous video that how we can get this one. If I just simply come here and call clients, and it is returning me this data, JSON data. So this is a JSON array, and this actually I will be providing this stream of data through my Angular controller variable customers, and then via this binding I will be pushing this data to Angular will be pushing this data to the page, and page will display this data from the server. That's the whole idea. So let me make this necessary changing. So now we are no longer interested reading from the local JSON file. That was for testing purpose only, just to clear up some concept. So in that regard, I have this construct available. Okay. I think copy and paste. No, let me copy again. Okay, looks good. So we are calling this get method. We are passing our, this is the URI. This is actually matching the structure customers API slash clients, and we saw this one when we typed it manually. This is the same URI. And then we are providing two callback functions that if everything goes fine, if this is success happen, and what to call. These are two callback functions. So here we will write our functionality. So let me copy that one and paste it. Actually, this is happening here. Okay, I need to write that. I think I have deleted that one. Okay, let me type these ones first. And here it will be scope.load data is equal to function. I think I messed up this one when I was copying something. Okay, and the name was load data. Okay, so now scope.load data is no longer using that JSON array in line. Now it is calling the API endpoint and calling these success callback, and this is the failure callback. But if something goes wrong, we are just showing this alert. And if everything goes fine and we get some data, we are definitely setting up the customers array. And let me just, before that one, put this one here. Okay, so we are resetting the customers data array, and we are passing scope dot associating this one whatever data we are getting back in this callback function. And if you see this markup on our HTML, we need to change it a little bit, this line, because we don't have this ID and company name property on our domain model classes. Those are actually, if we see here, it has first name, last name, and this one what we set up in the previous video. So it's a simple change, not that. So let me copy this whole block. First two are same, I guess identical, but anyway. So we are ID and full name, we are using only two, and load data call and clear data. Again, customer load data call is making this API call. We write this service, we are using these two callbacks, one for failed and one for completed. And I think it's not that big of a deal. Clear function is already as it is. So with these changes available, and I think we didn't change anything on server side, so this should be then okay. Let me clear the cache, refresh, load data. See, we get hit the endpoint and we get some alert, and we define this alert in our failure callback. Something went wrong, we didn't capture it, but let's inspect it. And that's the thing. This is the cross origin resource sharing related error, because I actually disabled that one. Let's see, because to see if it happened, and it is happening when website is calling the web API and I'm not getting back any data. So let's go to our startup class on web API project. Okay, and before that, let's see if these things play some role in this functionality, because I struggled with that one in the past. This was, we talked about it later. Let's enable this, run again our server and site. Let me close this previous. Okay, if we go to customers, let's click load data, hitting the endpoint, coming back, and voila, we got our IDs which we set up -1, 2, 3, 4 in our in-memory entity framework database, and we get data if we click clear. So it is getting, of course, the data from the web API. So at this point, we have successfully wired up everything. So you saw how from the routing we reach here to this functionality. Now in the next video, I will see if it is good. At this point, we should talk about encapsulating this routing functionality in our AngularJS framework, which we were building, which were having our top bar and navigation and hook up all this functionality. Or we can do some more this basic work in advance and later maybe. Anyway, we will see. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.